Hello, I'm Gabriel Benjamin, and welcome to my yoga primer video. Now you can follow along with these poses kind of like a little mini class. However, you're welcome to watch just to observe some basic poses that are good to be aware of if you want to take a full and traditional yoga class, regardless of the style. So the first pose I want to show students is child's pose. Now, if students have damaged knees, this may be problematic, but for most students, this is a very comfortable pose to be in. So you have your arms reached out a bit, your head down, and your hips back. If your knees are tight, you don't have to go back that far. And if your neck or shoulders are tight, you can fold your arms and rest your head on your arms. Now, one of the reasons why I'm showing this as the very first pose of the primer video is that it's a wonderful pose, all kinds of wonderful benefits, stretching the hips, the back, the legs, and giving rest to the heart. It's also a great pose to do if at any point you ever get overwhelmed in a yoga sequence, whether that's from the stretch being too deep, the movement being too fast, or the pose being held for too long. You can always come back and take rest in child. It's a common thing that you hear yoga teachers say, take rest in child if ever you need. So take a few more deep breaths here. And then we're going to come to the hands and knees and do a warm up for the back. So rounding the back with the exhale and lengthening the spine with the inhale. The shoulders are above the wrists, or the wrists are a little bit more forward than that. And the way I teach this is just to be kind of light and neutral, not arching the back too much. If it feels good, you can round the back real deep and lift the abs, but you don't even have to do that extensively. Just work on being fluid and warming up gradually. This is a very common warm-up that you might do in all kinds of different yoga classes. It's wonderful for the spine. It's a nice movement meditation, and there's gentle strength that happens in the torso and a little bit of pressure on the bones as well. All right, a very, very common pose is called downward dog. So with the hands a little forward, tucking under the toes, we're going to push back into downward dog. Lift the hips really high and lift out of the shoulders. Relax the head down, and if your hamstrings are tight, you'll want to bend the knees. Bending the knees is very helpful in a bunch of different hamstring stretches, so consider that for any type of hamstring stretch you do. Otherwise, you can lengthen through the legs. It's important to not round the low back, so you lift the hips, and that means lifting the heels if you need to, and only if you can really lift the low back do you push the heels down for a deeper stretch in the calves. And then we're going to do a little child's pose again. Now, in harder yoga classes, the dog would be like a rest pose. When you first do it, you feel that it's very strengthening for the arms, and it's intense. But when you get used to it, it is very much a pose you can ground and rest in. But of course, you can always rest in child. The next pose I want to show you is called a runner's lunge. From a sitting or a kneeling position, sitting is good if your knees feel comfortable. Kneeling is good if your knees don't. You can take a big step up. Now, some people will step a little bit. You can always plant and step further. And you can also do a shorter lunge, but a long lunge is good if it feels good. The knee is above the ankle. That's the way I teach it anyway. Most people do. There are some variations in theories and ideas, and some people really thrive on having the knee forward for a variety of reasons, but for the general population, that's not healthy for the knee. So I teach knee above ankle, and that's also an alignment that's used for all of the crescent lunges, the more strengthening versions of this pose, and the standing poses, side angle, warrior, etc. All these poses have variations, so when you learn the knee above the ankle alignment, you're essentially learning an alignment for dozens of poses, at least one alignment, a very important one for the health of your knees. And we can switch the sides. When you practice yoga stretches, you want to be taking smooth, deep breath. And naturally, when you do effort, the breath might increase a bit, but try to work on always smoothing it out, keeping the mind nice and smooth and calm. On this side, you can see perhaps a better angle of the knee being above the ankle, or even the heel. When there's weight in the heel, there's less pressure on the front of the joint here. The hips often want to kind of twist, but if you can lift the chest so you're not slouching and square the hips, then that's a nice deep stretch for the hips. And of course, we breathe. And then we're going to switch back to the hands and knees. Lower all the way down, reach back through the feet, and then lift just a little bit. And come on down. And lift just a little bit, and if you'd like, lift more, but not using the arm strength. This is a basic Cobra. This is really good for toning up your back and opening up your chest. And we're going to release. Try that again if you'd like. Lift, and you can also lift the hands. You feel how the strength builds more between the shoulder blades, and that helps to open up the chest. And then come down. Next, we're going to do a Sphinx stretch with the arms forward. The Sphinx is also good for opening up the chest, and it doesn't require as much strength. So if your back muscles fatigue easily, but you want to hold an opening for the chest longer, it's nice to do stretches like this. And plus, I consider this one of the most important stretches because in the modern era, we're typically slouching over the computer all day, and that's very negative for the spine. The spine, when healthy, has light S curves in it, and a lot of modern humans, due to inappropriate furniture and slouching on the computer, have a C-shaped spine. So when you have the C-shaped spine doing the opposite movement, the spinal extension here is the cure to what ails you. And of course, there's no one pose for all people. If you have a specific disc issue in your back, you may have to skip twists or back bends or forward bends. But this pose is typically accessible for most people. So remember to breathe and enjoy being able to hold a little bit longer than normal. This is the sort of the young cousin or the relative of a common pose both used in movement and held postures called the Cobra. So we can come on down, and unless your back is really tired or that stretch felt about enough, you can give the Cobra a try. So Cobra is with the arms engaged, but they stay a little bit bent. Commonly, students will crunch up their neck and shrug their shoulders. It's really best to keep the elbows lightly bent and the chest opening, and you reach back through the feet. You have a nice clear gaze. You only go into the pose as far as it feels good. So if you go effortlessly farther than what I'm showing, that's great. If you need to hold back and do your own version, that's also great. And come on down. And we're going to lift and switch to having the legs out from underneath. We're going to have the feet a little bit wide and then roll the femur. And lift the chest. And go ahead and do the other side. All right, very good. And that helps our hips be prepared for the classic cross-legged position. Now again, if you have very tight knees, you may need to sit on a lot of cushioning. Otherwise, sitting with the legs crossed, this is a common way that we begin class, that we close class, and it's a common way that we might practice breathing exercises or meditation. So we're going to conclude this video shortly, but let's start by taking a couple deep breaths just with the eyes open. Breathe in and breathe out. Take your time. Good. And one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Very nice. Feeling nice and calm. Now, without instruction, let's do 5 deep breaths, but just have the eyes closed. Just a little bit of quiet time. Sitting tall, breathing deep. Very nice. So we will come back to the body and we will conclude practicing. Again, you could be using this video just to observe visually, or you could follow along with it. Once you get used to these basic poses, then doing a whole class will be a lot less overwhelming, and you can use this any day you need a really short practice, or just watch this as a review. Even if you are a seasoned practitioner, it's always good to keep reviewing the basics and staying refined in your practice. So thank you again for watching. Check out the live feeds and the other pre-recorded classes. There's a wide variety of mostly yoga, but also some strength and core conditioning classes on this channel. This channel is funded by donations, so check out the description and the links below, and look forward to hearing your comments and feedback in the section as well. Thank you so much. Till next time.